The Chelsea Flower Show is known as one of the world's most important flower shows. It's certainly one of the most prestigious, and any visitor that comes to the UK in the late spring invariably asked to go to this great social event called the Chelsea Flower Show. It's usually held in the third week in May, and you meet all the important dignitaries, all the socialites, and it's, as I say, a very great social occasion. I have been associated with the Chelsea Flower Show for a long period. Even before I started showing on my own as an amateur, I used to be the secretary and then the chairman of the British Bonsai Association. So I used to have a lot of experience showing at Chelsea. But it was only in 1983 that I started showing Chelsea in my own right as an amateur for the first 3 years, and then as Herons Bonsai from 1986 to about 2005 or 2006. 20 or so years ago, I stopped doing it because I felt I had enough. So let me just show you what Chelsea is all about. These are just glimpses of the show for those who have never been to Chelsea. It is a general gardening show where you have beautiful gardens on display and beautiful plants, all sorts of wonderful plants, rare plants, exotic plants. And this is certainly an event that people don't like to miss. This gives you some ideas to what it's all about. You see all the socialites go there. Look at these beautiful garden designs. And mind you, these beautiful gardens are all made in 1 or 2 weeks. So it's quite a logistical nightmare to be doing this. So you get all these specialist growers. This is a grow of peonies. And this is the exhibit of the Trinidad and Tobago. So this gives you some ideas to the variety you see at Chelsea. It is a horticultural extravaganza. And there is bonsai, of course. I'm very proud of my Chelsea Flower Show pedigree because I won 21 gold medals at Chelsea, and the gold medal you only get one. If ever you do Chelsea, getting the gold medal is the ultimate accolade in horticulture, and the first medal you get is an actual 22-carat gold medal. All the subsequent medals you earn will be just pieces of paper. So I took the trouble of fishing out all these old Chelsea medals. As you can see, I've lost count of them because I've got quite a score. To say score means 20, but I did get 21 gold medals and 1 Flora Silver Gilt medal. So all these gold medals, as you can see, are pieces of paper, no more than that. So why do people do Chelsea? Just to get a piece of paper? It really is the honor of doing Chelsea. It's not so much the monetary value you get from it, but it gives you some kudos and some credibility in the gardening world. And my Chelsea experience started off as an amateur, and I used to literally do the shows on my own, just with a single car. I used to put 20 trees in the boot of the car, and then a few battens and few bits of hessian, and that was all. Let me just show you some other things I fished out. These are the labels I used to do. In the days before you could print labels, these are bits of wood, can you see? And we used to put lettresset on them. Gold lettresset, 1 letter at a time. How tedious is that? How tedious is that? It was certainly a tough life. Now when we look back and see we have all these printers, and in those days we used to do it like that. Not only that, it was a very hard life. Now I will just show you some of the results of our hard work and I will take you through the various shows. As I said to you, I won 21 Chelsea gold medals, but I did, I think, 22 Chelsea flower shows on my own and as Herons Bonsai. But I also used to show for the British Bonsai Association, of which I was the club chairman. So let me take you straight through to show you Chelsea. 2002 was one of the nicest Chelsea flower show displays that I put on. And here I am with the Queen. This is the last time I met her. I have met the Queen on 3, 4, or possibly even 5 occasions. This was an occasion I did have a word with her. I spoke to her for about half a minute. She asked me the usual things. How old is this tree? Are they difficult to keep? That sort of question, which most people ask. But here she is, looking absolutely resplendent and elegant in yellow. Notice the lovely bouquet of yellow roses that she's carrying. So this was a very memorable visit. After that, I didn't get a chance to see her again. And of course, by that time, I was beginning to think about stopping doing Chelsea flower shows. So let's show you some of the images from that show. So after she looked at the exhibits, she was walking away. Now this is not the Chelsea flower show, but this is a view of our nursery. And I dare say this is as pretty, if not prettier, than my displays at the Chelsea flower show. Look at the maples and wisterias that we had. It's hard to imagine that our nursery actually looked like this. Another view of our nursery. So can you imagine tearing yourself away from the nursery to do the flower show? The Chelsea flower show takes up a lot of time because it is on for a whole week. It takes a week to 10 days to set it up and a couple of days to break it down. So you're away from the nursery for 2 weeks. Someone has to look after the nursery, and I used to have a band of helpers to help at the flower show because you have to have people at the stand all the time. And of course, having been associated with the British Bonsai Association, I had a lot of volunteers who used to come because they like to attend the show for free. So let's move on. So pulling myself away from the nursery, these are some of the exhibits we put together, some of the accent plantings that we make on the nursery. Can't tear myself away from the nursery. Lovely, beautiful scented white wisteria. I didn't show this at Chelsea, but some of the plants we had at the nursery were probably more beautiful than Chelsea. This is still the nursery. Now we come to the display. I may have mentioned on another video earlier on that this is a famous water basin that I had specially commissioned, and it is made from a copy of one that I saw at Sankaien, a Japanese garden in Yokohama. Look at that beautiful water basin, and look at that beautiful rock there. This is how I used to display my trees at Chelsea. Nobody else ever displayed their trees in this fashion. An accent planting. This is what my stand looked like at Chelsea. Like an elegant Japanese garden or even a Japanese home. Let your imagination run wild. So the tree on the left is a large mountain maple group. The tree next to it is a red hawthorn. The other tree is a Chinese juniper trained in Bunjin style, and a needle juniper raft on the right hand side. Again, have a look at that rock. And I used to put loads of this beautiful quartz gravel, which people use for Japanese gardens. Mind you, I used to make Japanese gardens in those days, So this is the sort of Japanese garden I used to create for people in their homes. The display poles are large poles, which they are spun poles, absolutely cylindrical, and the tops are made of oak planks. One of the Scots pine bonsai that I used to make into bunjin, and that's a primitive pot from Japan. Another of the lanterns that I used to commission, I had them specially made in China for them. I still have a few of these in case anyone wants to buy them. And these lanterns can be lit, in fact. A closer view of that literati pine, Scots pine. I believe that Scots pine makes some of the finest literatis. Now, that Scots pine literati with one of my exquisite Korean hornbeams. That Korean hornbeam must be at least 1.2 meter tall in a lovely semi-antique tokonami pot. I used to use scrolls. This is a Chinese scroll. For those of you who can read Chinese, perhaps you can enlighten me. I can't read Chinese, unfortunately, but apparently the gist of the wording in the scroll is that I think a harmonious team is a successful team, something along those lines. Closer view of this red hawthorn. Red hawthorns are rather difficult to maintain in the UK. This was an imported Japanese tree, but very hard to keep alive. This is one of my rigidas, which I still have today, but it's not in very good condition because it's become very, very old. I believe when I purchased this tree, it was well over 100 years old. So it must be now about 120, 130 years old. I need to revive it, but I was restyling it because it had lost some branches. One of our many Satsuki azaleas. This is a hemlock, Japanese hemlock planted in this crescent-shaped pot. Mind you, this is quite a large tree. It's about 80 to 95 centimeter tall, and that pot is massive too. It may look small here, but it's massive. One of my accent plantings. Accent planted in a volcanic rock. Just some wild grasses, forget-me-not. They're just wild plants. Another of my accent plantings. I think these are water plants, mainly water plants, from my pond. So these accent plantings, when they're made, they've got to be absolutely perfect for the day. After about a week, the flowers will have faded and it wouldn't look so good. So Chelsea is about timing to perfection. This particular Deshojo, it's not a group, it's a raft. If you look carefully at the base, the roots are connected. So it's a tree that was laying on the side and the stems or the branches pulled up. Notice the triangular shape. This, of course, is an imported piece. Very large Kishu juniper. This piece is about 1.2 meter tall. I have since sold this juniper. It belongs to a very good customer of mine now. This Deshojo on rock, in fact, it's two Deshojo trees. I made it back in 1989, perhaps. I put 2 small deshojos just for fun on a large piece of Ibigawa rock. I purchased this rock from Nagoya, and the trees were just ordinary bonsai that I put together and put it over the rock. Planted it in a flower pot for about 2 years, and then it's become like this after another 5 or 7 years. This tree is about over a meter long, and it's still in the ownership of one of my very good clients. Another accent planting planted in a piece of Ibigawa rock is just wild grasses and some moss. This is just one side of a display. My displays were on 4 sides. It was what we call an island site, so you could view it from 4 sides. So in order to view it from 4 sides, I used to have to create screens as a backdrop for the trees. So this side is an evergreen display. A juniper on the left, needle juniper, raft in the middle, and another juniper on the right. All these trees have since been sold. Notice the accent plantings that I use. Notice the tables that I use. Closer view. Coming back to the central display again. Now this is a view from one of the corners, so it shows 2 sides of the display. The tables are what we call tabletop height. So the green part would be like 80 centimeter tall. And then I have another plinth, which is about, I would say, another 20 or 25 centimeter in height. And these screens are antique shoji screens made of cedar wood. And they are, in fact, cedar screens that I use in my own home. They are part of my interior decoration at home. So for the duration of the Chelsea Flower Show, I take these from my home and use it at Chelsea, much to my wife's annoyance. Close-up of some of the junipers. I love these accent plantings. This is a raft of the Yatsubusa type needle juniper. This is a multi-trunk mountain maple. Sadly, most of these trees have since been sold. When you're in business, if someone wants to buy a tree, you have to sell it. You can't hang on to them forever. I used to love this tree, but this also has been sold. This has also been sold. This I still have in my collection. So another view, panoramic view of the entire display. So there are, I would say, 7 trees in just this alcove. That's another side. So I had 3 sides and a courtyard-like construction in the middle. This I consider one of my best displays ever at Chelsea, and no wonder the Queen admired it very much. So with the Queen walking away, I will conclude this video. So I hope you enjoyed this video, which is just a slideshow of pictures I took. In those days, there was no iPhone or other, phones that you could take pictures with. So they were taken with a Sony digital camera. I have since thrown all my conventional cameras away, and I just rely on these smartphones. So I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I will do a whole series of Chelsea Flower Show exhibits, going back to the early years. So this is the one from 2002. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.